UN has been pushed aside from any attempt at a peace process. And it's come from others. Occasionally the US gets busy, but for the most part, I think it's been inclined to stand back and let things rumble on. And then you get a terrible crisis. I mean, how many Gaza wars have there been? This being the most devastating by far, where people say the key issue has to be addressed. And that is that the Palestinians need statehood. And so stop trying to manage conflict at a low level. And it's not now at a low level. It's at sort of red peak heat, and start to look for the processes that will lead to resolution. This can't be managed as a conflict. It's out of control. And as we see now, the regional spillover with Hezbollah, Lebanon, Iran, this is catastrophic. And we need serious diplomacy. Now, I do think the Arab states hold a lot of the key to this. The United States, under both recent administrations, has been very keen on these Abrahamic Accords, which would have seen a reconciliation between Arab states and Israel. And let's face it, going back some 40 plus years, there was a settlement with Jordan. There was a settlement with Egypt. New Zealand forces are in the Sinai to this day, policing that settlement. In quite recent years, United Arab Emirates has exchanged ambassadors with Israel. But the big prize is Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is hanging tough. And there was an initiative announced at the UN last week between the Saudi foreign minister, Prince Faisal, and the Norwegian foreign minister, where it was quite clear that the Saudis are not going to recognize without that move to Palestinian statehood. So that should really be focusing minds in Washington, D.C., whichever administration is around.
That makes sense. So the approach, the sort of trying to keep things on the boil with a conflict management process, not getting to the nub of the issue, which is effectively resolution.
And further to that, I mean, Israel will never enjoy security in a neighborhood where everyone is opposed to it. So it sees itself as somehow exceptional. The truth is, until it gets peace with its neighbors, its people will never know security. As we know, long-range records, missiles, and it's not such long range to come from Lebanon or the Gaza Strip or from Iran. The people of Israel are now living in permanent insecurity, almost a permanent state of war. This is not a future for anybody. And before we even start on the plight of the Palestinians, his position is very, very dire. So something has to cut through this if we're to stop these cycles of wars, misery, killing, injury. It's shocking.
Yes, and I'll just take one last comment on this topic before we move on. And on the current news from this morning, a very worrying news of sort of 100 plus missiles coming in retaliation from Iran hitting Israel. What do you think are possible escalations, and what should our small country voice be doing in this sort of situation? And what are your thoughts there?
Our small country voice should be for an urgent ceasefire on all scores and steps to be taken towards Palestinian statehood, with a state living side by side with Israel and peace.